In some respects, I consider the Loud House the modern-day version, or rather the 21st century's unique variant of Charles Schulz Charlie Brown. The tune's overall stylization borrows some elements from classic newspaper comics. The boxy borders used in title cards, the paper texture overlaid on backgrounds, and the simplistic cross-hatching or thin line strokes used to emphasize details like tree bark or shadows behind or near objects. A few features of Lincoln's design roughly echo Charlie's at that. He wears a trademark orange shirt similar to Charlie's trademark yellow with the black stripe, and has a distinctive fluffy cowlick similar to the 3 distinctive squiggles on Charlie's forehead. In Peanuts, Charlie is set as the awkward but relatable kid in a neighborhood full of fairly colorful, eccentric characters from the appropriately named Pigpen to the aspiring pianist Schroeder. In Lincoln's case, he is the awkward but relatable kid in a crazy, chaotic household full of colorful, eccentric siblings, where Charlie seeks advice from Lucy for a nickel, or from the good-natured Peppermint Patty. Lincoln gets both wanted and unsolicited advice from all of his sisters in some way, shape, or form. Schultz's newspaper comic strip Peanuts followed Charlie's daily life, adventures, and daily shenanigans in the neighborhood at large. The Loud House follows Lincoln's journey to navigate childhood and live a fun, fruitious life in a crowded but loving household. Some of the inspiration the Loud House draws from Peanuts carries over to the budding romance between Lincoln and Ronnie Ann. In Peanuts, Charlie has a big crush on a mysterious girl generally known as the Little Red-Haired Girl. She is an enigma since most readers or viewers only know her as someone Charlie makes passing reference to. There's one tentative sketch over on Schultz's part, but he never officially introduced her because he didn't think she'd live up to readers' expectations or interpretations. To quote Schultz himself, "I can never draw her to satisfy the reader's impression of what she's probably like." Part of the Little Red-Haired Girl's narrative role was to illustrate how hopeless Charlie's crush and yearning towards her were. It's an interesting take on a one-sided childhood crush, and just how overwhelming the feelings can be when admiring a special someone from afar. The tendency to place them on a proverbial pedestal, glorify certain aspects of their appearance and personality, and just muddling through feelings towards them in general. Personally, I like the idea of the Little Red-Haired Girl remaining a mystery. It adds an intriguing layer of relatability and a sympathetic note to Charlie's experience, reflecting one of the core appeals of the series overall. It's a simple approach, placing more emphasis on a one-off idea or joke. On a side note, the Little Red-Haired Girl has appeared in several animated specials, as well as the 2015 CGI Peanuts movie, though her design and overall conduct vary between adaptations. I'd say this reflects just how dramatically different this character is interpreted between readers and viewers alike. Ronnie Ann is first introduced in the episode Heavy Metal as an off-screen bully that shoves Sloppy Joe sandwiches down Lincoln's pants and sticks gum in his hair. For Peanuts, the Little Red-Haired Girl could be considered a symbolic representation of what it's like to experience that first major childhood crush. In Ronnie Ann's case, she starts out holding a similarly symbolic role, though she represents how inappropriately some kids react towards having a crush and how they deal with said feelings. Or rather, since Lincoln is the focus character, there's emphasis on what kinds of ideas and reactions result from said inappropriate behavior. Note how aggressive Lincoln's sisters are at first when they think Lincoln's bully is a guy. The tone shifts dramatically when Lincoln reveals that it's a girl picking on him. Suddenly her actions aren't mean and problematic, but cute and romantic. Even Lincoln gets caught in the moment, baffled and excited by the idea that a girl likes him that way. Lincoln getting punched after he first kisses Ronnie Ann frames the "she's bullying me because she likes me" idea with healthy skepticism. While the series goes ahead and confirms that planted seed of an idea, there's enough grounding to frame Ronnie Ann's behavior as a notable problem. The point of the episode was to illustrate how loving but overbearing Lincoln's sisters can be, and that sometimes they will unintentionally give him bad advice. Overall, Lincoln chalks up moments like this as a c'est la vie, just a sign that they all really care, and the big takeaway is that they just want to see the best for him. They'll step in and protect him as much as cheer on and encourage him when it's something only he can handle solo. He just needs to find a way to balance considering their needs and feelings with following gut instincts. A difficult balance to strike no matter what the issue. If Ronnie Ann had remained an off-screen character for one more episode, it'd be interesting to see Lincoln's parents' take on her and what they'd do. There may even be some locking horns between Lincoln's sisters and his parents. They were a united front on the idea that Ronnie Ann liked Lincoln, but there's potential in each sister preferring a different approach to expressing feelings or setting up dates. Even this could lead to conflicting opinions between sisters, or Lincoln trying to pinpoint which advice he finds more helpful. This idea does get partly explored in the episode Girl Guru, albeit in a different respect. In short, Ronnie Ann's symbolic role, both as an active and off-screen character, presents interesting narrative opportunities for exploring Lincoln's dynamic with the sisters, particularly in regards to their varying experiences with and expectations from romance. Though the ending scene in Heavy Metal does allude to the softer, unseen side of Ronnie Ann. It's a hook for viewers to wonder who Ronnie Ann is, what kind of character development she may go through, and how things will progress for her and Lincoln from this point onwards. The ending also sets the tone for Lincoln's and Ronnie Ann's odd touch-and-go dynamic in later episodes. Lincoln's initial reluctance to approach Ronnie Ann is somewhat understandable. Other side characters in the tune vary as to how open they are to the idea of dating and girls. For example, Clyde openly expresses how much he adores Lincoln's older sister Lori, but other boys tease their classmates at the mere hint that they like a girl. There's still some note of awkwardness surrounding the idea, since everyone is in between the ew cooties phase and just starting to understand crushes and attraction. Not to mention, Ronnie Ann isn't the best at expressing herself. It takes seeing what happens to Lincoln after some of her stunts for her to take a few steps back and reevaluate her approach. Granted, she quickly becomes a very endearing, likable character. Seeing her on screen cements the image of her as Lincoln's first major crush. There's no question that Lincoln reciprocates Ronnie Ann's interest. In Save the Date, she and Lincoln hit it off fantastically, after actually sitting down and talking to each other. It's fun how well they relate to each other in regards to their sappy, overly mushy older siblings at that. It's an interesting parallel. Bobby and Lori are at the phase where romantic relationships are a novel experience, if not a key highlight and social staple of being a teenager. Their overly saccharine interactions are a take on the classic love-struck and moony-eyed teenage couple. In Lincoln's and Ronnie Ann's case, they're very new to the idea of starting a relationship, let alone how to properly approach each other. That's a huge part of what makes watching their dynamic relatable and endearing for the tune's target demographic. Save the Date focuses on both Lincoln and Ronnie Ann learning how to better relate to and communicate with each other. After discovering how nice, funny, and personable Ronnie Ann is behind her tough girl front, Lincoln becomes endeared to her. He makes a point of apologizing to her, going for a grand romantic gesture, and enduring the brunt of criticism from his peers as a result. On his part, he learned not to judge a book by its cover, as well as to watch what he says about others and how he reacts towards peer pressure and teasing. In Ronnie Ann's case, she learns how important tact is and that she needs to reframe how she makes advances towards Lincoln. She finally understands what kind of awkward position the sloppy joes and otherwise pin Lincoln in. When Ronnie Ann breaks up with Lincoln on screen, it's specifically to stop the guys from teasing him and assuage the social pressure placed on the idea of them dating. Where there was some ambiguity towards their relationship in Heavy Metal, they could be considered somewhere close to boyfriend-girlfriend from this episode onwards. In Dance Dance the Resolution, Lincoln automatically assumes that Ronnie Ann plans on asking him to the dance. It's yet another episode focusing on communication issues between the two. Lincoln opts for avoiding Ronnie Ann and lying to his sisters about the dance rather than openly admitting to his preferred plans. Hijinks aside, this episode does mark the most significant development in regards to Lincoln's and Ronnie Ann's dynamic. By the end, they're able to resolve the issue peaceably enough, as well as cement that they have compatible interests. Ronnie Ann likes the idea of spending the evening at the local pizza place as much as Lincoln does. The episode's ending sets a new precedent for their relationship. They're more likely to be open and straightforward with each other moving forward. No more dodging the other or pulling humiliating pranks. Or rather, if Ronnie Ann considers pulling humiliating pranks, she thinks twice about it before going through with it. At the end of the most recent episodes, Luann recruits Ronnie Ann, if only because they both share a really ornery, obnoxious streak. They both really enjoy pulling humiliating pranks on other people. Ronnie Ann hasn't given up on the idea as to why she put sloppy joes down Lincoln's pants in the first place. She just has much more self-awareness about doing so. The end of the episode showcases how much more she cares about her standing with Lincoln and respecting his needs and feelings, rather than how much she just wants a good laugh. I'm definitely hoping that this particular side of their dynamic, or this open, straightforward approach, continues with future episodes, and that there's even an episode where they're just having a good time with each other. As a viewer, I like seeing the more low-key, casual side of Ronnie Ann, and Lincoln's more empathetic, emotional side. Really, Lincoln is a hopeless romantic if he deems dip-kissing his date in front of a crowded restaurant appropriate under any circumstances. In conclusion, setting up Ronnie Ann as an active character opened up potential for plot threads and themes focusing on a first big childhood romance.